Great. So welcome everyone to this afternoon's session. We're going to be talking about employment opportunities. And we've got Beam here to talk to us. And we also have Breaking Barriers. So we're really excited about this session and we'll hope you'll find it really informative. I think Beam are going to go first for the first kind of half an hour or so. And then Breaking Barriers will be taking over. So I'll just pull a presentation up on the screen, but I'll hand over to Chloe from Beam.
Thanks so much, Sophie, and hi everyone, and thank you all so much for taking the time to join today. So I'll just wait until Sophie shares the screen, but it'd be really good to know, kind of just by a show of hands or by a nod for those of you that I can see, how many of you are familiar with Beam? I can't really tell, I'm not seeing much there, but that's great. So we can kind of introduce you to what it is that we do at Beam, and tell you a bit more about the service. And then also I know that there may be people watching this who are refugees who are kind of new to Hammersmith and Fulham, who are looking to get into work. So hopefully there'll be some tips and some advice there for how to help you into work. So if you would, okay to go on to the next slide, please, Sophie. So I'll just introduce myself. So I'm Chloe Rose and I'm one of our government delivery managers here, which means that I'm kind of the initial point of contact for anyone who's referred into Beam, and also I'm quite in touch with all of the local authority partners that we work with. And Alice, should I let you introduce yourself? You might need to come off mute.
Sorry, yeah, I just started to hear you. Oh, thank you so much. And my name is Aladdin, and yeah, I'm one of the clients for Beam, and I'm very happy to be here and speaking in behalf of Beam, or like people who are joining Beam so far. And yeah.
Thanks, Ala. If you could go on to the next slide, please, Sophie. So and if you click a couple of times as well, please. So Beam helps people who kind of have difficult housing situations to find work, and there's a couple of ways in which we do this. So the first is by funding. So we recognize that there can be so many different financial barriers that can prevent people from getting into work, especially if it may be the first time they're working in this country, or they're in a tricky financial situation. And this could be anything from a qualification to a laptop, to travel to work, and everything in between. And where the money comes from is through crowdfunding. So this means that members of the public will make donations towards individual people's campaigns on our website to help them to achieve their goals and overcome these barriers. But the second way that we provide support is really by recognizing that just providing money or just booking someone into a training isn't necessarily enough. And the way that we can provide even more help is by supporting people on a really one-to-one and personalized basis, everything from CVs to searching and applying for jobs to interview skills and everything in between. And then the people who can make donations on our website, they can also send really supportive and encouraging messages. And these, so many of the people that we work with don't always have a huge support network in the UK, or they might feel quite isolated. So it can really make a difference seeing these messages, knowing that there's people who are supporting them and who care about them, and then also having their support worker to help them with applications. Next slide, please. So it's a bit of an interactive one. I've just got a question there. So if no one wants to answer, that's not a problem. But what sort of things would make searching for a job easier? Feel free to shout some out.
I probably having a good CV for like the first step, to be honest, and like maybe some contacts, like, because usually refugees or any residents who come here and they're like new in the country, they don't have as much as contacts as the native people who raised here and like lived here the most of their lives. So yeah, it's kind of like getting in touch in Beam, and like for some organizations within the area, like, yeah, that might help at some point.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Those are all great suggestions, and they're the exact sort of things that we can help with. So I'll now go through and show you kind of the three key areas that where Beam can help to make searching for a job easier. So the first one is by funding. So like I kind of mentioned, all of those financial barriers. If you could click again, please, Sophie, you'll see kind of some of the examples of the things that we can help people to fund. So it could be anything from a training or a qualification. So a lot of people we work with want to go into construction, but they need a CSCS card, which is very expensive, or security, and they need an SIA license, or whatever it may be. And then we can also help with travel. So when you first start working, even getting to an interview or getting to and from work can be really challenging at first. So we can always help with an Oyster card. A laptop and internet connection is a really crucial one. Many people for many people who are trying to format a CV on their phone or send applications without actually having a laptop or internet, this can be a real barrier. Childcare is often quite a big one as well. And then also clothes. This could be a smart outfit for an interview, or boots for the role in the new job, whatever it may be. And then also equipment, depending on what the role is. So often people's crowdfunding campaigns will be very different amounts, depending on whether they have children, whether they want a training. It could be any combination of any of these things, plus a few others that we can always help with. And then it's completely free for the person to use, and we'll never ask for any money or any of the items back. And we've got, of all of the campaigns that we've launched so far, we've never had a campaign that hasn't got its full funding. So it's never a case of really having to wait until that money comes through before we can support people, because we feel fairly certain that it will come through from all of our regular donators. Thanks, Sophie. So the second way that we can help, which was already mentioned, is by helping with exclusive access to jobs. So we've got loads of contacts. I think it's about 60 employers that we work with who take priority job applications for Beam members. So for someone who's maybe slightly newer to the country or to a particular industry and doesn't have a good understanding of the businesses there, that can be a really, really good resource. And when they take priority job applications, this can really improve chances of getting into work. And in the picture here, you can see just some of the examples of those 60 companies that we work with. And then the third way that we help is really by providing support and guidance along all the way. So each person, so we call them a member once they join Beam, all of our members have an individual support worker who they really get to know on a one-to-one basis. And it's that person's job to answer any questions, to really get to know the person they're working with, and to help with everything from CV, job applications, interview prep, and everything else in between where they might need support. And now over to Ala to tell us a bit more about your experience when you joined Beam. So I know that you've kind of seen the questions in advance. So I guess over to you to chat about your experience, please.
Yeah, I mean, based on my experience, first of all, my English is not as native as some of the people here in the meeting. So I'm just trying to be like just accurate with the things I say. Yeah, so for me, it was really great joining Beam. First of all, I came to the UK and I kind of like don't know a lot of people, and I have no contact with like how to get a job or like how the like job progress is here, because it's slightly different. Maybe a little bit more than slightly from other countries that I lived in. So yeah, it was really good. So I think the first time I was in Fulham and Hammersmith Council with my caseworker, and I guess like I saw Chloe, and Chloe was interested to get me into Beam, and yeah, not Chloe, the one with us in the meeting.
There's two of us.
Yeah, and yeah, she was so friendly and so helpful, and she kind of like saw that I'm like interested in finding jobs and like moving into training and like finding a career for myself, and she got me into Beam, and from that time it's over a year. And yeah, I had few obstacles, but after I joined, like I did a training for receptionist in London Reception Academy, and Beam provide me with the transportation and with the suit, plus they funded everything that I needed, from a laptop, and like they helped me doing my CV so far. yeah, it was a bit challenging time that when I was about to get a job, like the COVID came and like I wasn't lucky to get a job. So I kind of like got another chance, which I was so grateful for Beam. So I did a CCTV course and I'm about to finish it now. And hopefully afterwards I'll be able to be a CCTV operator in here. And yeah, so I'm just I would recommend going to Beam for anyone who is in the same like lifestyle, or like if someone is new in the country, it's a really great first step. Some people comes, they have a lot of qualifications from their previous countries, but like Beam can always help you to do training that fits you into living here, into starting, and then you can finish your training, do things that you're willing to do. Yeah, but as a first a great step, I think, yeah, it's a really a great point to be joining Beam. And I think every refugee within the area in need for this, and they might not know about the opportunity, but I think from my point of view, like if the Fulham and Hammersmith Council knowing about this, and like they're like maybe speaking with refugees or like residents who are new in the area, everybody within the area can know about Beam and they can like ask for help. And yeah, I think Beam they're really helpful and like they're here for this. So I really I didn't hesitate for 1% to be sharing this and speaking about Beam, because I'm really thankful for them, especially when I had like circumstances during COVID and like lost my job, and I kind of like didn't benefit from the training I've got so far because of the circumstances. And they were able to give me a second chance and help me with other funding and other things during some like work search or another opportunities or any job applications, or from their partnerships or like contacts to get me into employment. So yeah, I'm really thankful, and it's an honor for me to be here speaking about Beam. And yeah, so far this is all I have for now. Thank you so much, guys, for hearing me.
Thank you so much. It was really great to hear a bit more about your experience. And then to anyone who has any questions, either about Beam or to Ala about his experience, then of course we'll have time for that at the end. But I think for now, it would be really helpful if you had any advice for anyone who's fairly new to Hammersmith and Fulham, who's just come from another country and is kind of thinking, where do I begin with looking for work? Apart from joining Beam, which you've already said, is there any other advice that you have for them?
I have an advice. If they like if people know about a lot of organizations like Beam, and especially Beam, they they can really benefit from that. They can find jobs, they can be provided by training, and Beam helps with almost everything. So why not? Like, this is a great opportunity, and this is something like is really amazing to be offered to anyone. So I think it's a great chance for everybody to hear about Beam, to be honest. And yeah, it's a personal experience, but I still have a lot. It's not gonna be just like 20 minutes or half an hour, to be honest. But I'm happy if anyone have any other ideas and like he wants to ask me specifically, and yeah, I can answer about especially about the time that I've been in Beam.
Thank you so much. And if Sophie, if you're able to go across to the next slide, then I can tell anyone who would be interested in using Beam support how you'd be able to do that. So I think kind of for anyone who's watching this and thinking, oh, that sounds amazing, I'd really love to get involved. The first question there would be whether you have a housing officer at the council. And if the answer is yes, then you'll be able to ask them to refer you. And I can always circulate this information afterwards if that would be helpful. And if they don't, then please, if you don't have a housing officer yet at Hammersmith and Fulham Council, then the second yellow box there, you can see instructions for how to contact us, and then we can help you through that process. And then after the point where you've got a housing officer, we'll be able to get you referred into Beam. But I think that's pretty much it from us in terms of the official presentation. Wanted to leave lots of time for if anyone had any questions about Beam and the model, or our partnership with Hammersmith and Fulham, or probably much more interesting about Aladdin's experiences with the service. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and over to you all.
Actually, I'm very happy to hear questions. I really want to, because it's more helpful for everybody.
Hi, I'm Chloe and Ella. Thank you so much. Ella, your English is near perfect, so please don't apologize. It was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm just wondering, I work for an organization called Happy Baby Community, and we work with women who are pregnant or have young children and are seeking protection in the UK, are seeking asylum. And some of them have the refugee status, some of them don't. So just wondering, I heard about this through the Refugee Employment Network. I'd never heard of Beam before. So thanks for that presentation to both. I'm just wondering, so you have to live in Fulham or Hammersmith borough to access Beam, is that correct?
No, so we are commissioned in a few other boroughs all around London. So I won't bore everyone by listing them now. But what we can do is I can ask Sophie for your email address after this, and then we can chat more separately. But we're working in quite a few boroughs across London. Hopefully we'll be expanding well beyond London across the UK, and hopefully globally, if we can help as many people as possible that way.
Fantastic. And you need your leave to remain, do you, to access Beam?
Yes, so everyone that we work with will need to have proof of right to work in the UK, whether that comes as pre-settled status or leave to remain. And then we can also help people who don't have any recourse to public funds.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Loretta.
I have a question. Thank you, Ella, for sharing your story, and thank you, Chloe. I'm actually based outside of London, and it sounds like right now you only work within London. But I note that you have relationships with, you said 60 different employers who give priority access. Do you advertise those on your website, and can anyone access those, or are they only available to the people you work with within the London boroughs where you're active?
So most of the roles, and we're always on the lookout for employer partners who are based in or have roles in the boroughs where we're working, so that we can find local jobs for the people that we're helping. So most of the roles, they kind of are advertised in other places on all of their websites. But then they'll specifically kind of take priority job applications from Beam members who we're already working with. So sorry, that's probably not the answer that you want to hear with helping people kind of outside of London. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. No, I was just curious, but it sounds like you're a great organisation and doing great work. So it was really interesting to hear about you. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Tabby.
Thanks, Chloe and Ala, for the presentation. It was really interesting. I'm going to do a little bit of presentation later anyway, but I just wanted to ask about how Beam got started and its history a little bit. And that's it for now, actually.
Yeah, sure. So Beam's been going for nearly 4 years now, and our founder and CEO, Alex, he tells a story about how he was commuting into his corporate job every day, and he'd get chatting to a man who would sit on the floor by his tube station, a homeless man, and he bought him coffee and socks where he could, but he was often thinking that he wanted to do more to help in a more meaningful way. And he recognized that if he was feeling that, there might be hundreds of people who were feeling the same way. So this is kind of where a lot of the donations come from. bank. And often when someone first joins the service, they say, oh, that's such a great thing, but why would anyone want to donate to help me get into work or to help me get training? And then they're always really pleasantly surprised to learn that so many people do donate and so many people do care. So kind of the crowdfunding was really at the heart of it initially. Largely, the majority of the people that we help are kind of have a housing issue or are impacted by homelessness or at risk of homelessness in some way. And then that kind of extends, for example, in Hammersmith and Fulham to people who are refugees who have just joined. So it's kind of, since then, we've been able to help over 300 people now, largely to get into work, but then some also to get into housing through that same crowdfunding model. And we're kind of trying to scale a lot. So we're hiring at the moment and really trying to increase the scope of the people that we can help.
Thanks. Yeah, it's really great work. Remember my second question was to Ala, and you mentioned that there's a big difference in looking for work back home and here. So what were the interesting things you found about looking for work here?
The differences is with like the need for qualifications. There is a lot of jobs like you really need to be trained for, you need to get certificate, you need to be like aware of safety, aware of a lot of things that the community in the UK, they're like care. Like, I'm sorry, but like there was a lot of experiences that it's not that great in some of the countries that I lived in before. Like the care about the stuff and like the care about being well trained and like safe at work, and that's one of the plus for the UK. And people, I think when they come, they don't know much about this, so they kind of learn by the training they're being provided with. And for me, it's also different because here you need always like to have proper CV and like have a covering letter, and you need to have some contacts. You need to be referred from someone and share your references. And yeah, so I think it's a little bit different. And the most important thing that they care about the person who is working more than a lot of countries around the world, to be honest. So I think people who comes, usually refugees, they might be North Africans, or like from African countries, or maybe Middle Eastern or places with war. They come from places, maybe they are not aware of how much the employers like they care about people here. So they kind of like they need to be also aware of the process of getting a job, and they need to know exactly what they want to do in life. I can tell you something. Maybe after over a year in the UK, I might, if I was now getting the first chance to be provided with a training within Beam or with Beam, I might not choose the receptionist, or like, just because, like, for example, when the circumstances changed, I kind of like for a while, hospitality didn't work because of like COVID. So I had to change, you know what I mean? So like there will be always changes throughout your life. It's gonna always require you to be more trained or like more flexible. The flexibility and being like able to carry on with life and like, or get more training or like get other certifications is a great opportunity. And I think people who comes here for the first step, for refugees, any other residents coming from other countries, they need, this is a priority for them, because it's the only way that they can like try to learn this flexibility and the way of living here. So it's, yeah, I think it's a great chance to especially get with Beam, because like Beam try to help you before anything with the CV, with the job. They share their opportunities and vacancies for jobs within their partners. So I mean, I didn't say something around like maybe better, but that was not because I'm speaking with Beam now, but just because it's experience. And I tried a lot, to be honest. And I found this is the best opportunity I've had since I came to the UK.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ala, do you have any advice for people who are new to the UK where language is a real barrier for them when they're trying to apply for jobs and get into work?
I have an advice, even though I've been learning English since I was a kid. So I'm not as good as native speakers because I never lived in the UK or like an English country until I came here. So I still needed to do courses like anyone else who's coming with no English. So I needed to because when you're applying for jobs, you need maybe to put in your CV. For example, if they try to contact with me or see that he has leave to remain, so maybe he's not here or maybe he's refugee, usually maybe employers notice this. So if they didn't see maybe an evidence in the CV that I worked on my English and I have a good English, that might be no, quickly. So I always suggest them to go to college, do courses, test your levels, because I think without English, it's almost really, really hard to do anything, to be honest. It's also the way that you can speak to people, communicate, and get to know people. So if you don't have English, it's a little bit of a struggle. I still struggle a bit when someone has a really strong accent, honestly. So it's still that you need sometimes even to know some slang language when someone speaks in a strong accent, just so that you can communicate effectively. Because if you're trying to keep telling someone, oh, can you please repeat, can you do this, or can you this, it's tiring sometimes. And people who comes new to the country, I think firstly they will be living on benefits or something, so they have enough chance maybe to focus on English and then focus on getting maybe basic jobs that helps them to get the first step. And I think this is quite good with Beam because there is a lot of jobs that you can start even if your English is not that great or you don't have maybe as many experiences as someone who raised here. Receptionist or there is a lot I don't know for women because there's constructions, there is any customer service, so there is a lot of things to start with. But I should say the language is the main thing.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go for
First,
it.
thank you so much first. And how about work for moms who raise their children to work from home? What do you recommend?
So at Beam, we work with a lot of people who have young families, and obviously their priority is being able to care for them as best they can. So one of the ways that we can help is with childcare while someone does go into work. A lot of the roles that we help with are kind of part-time, have a bit more flexibility that mothers will often require. But kind of more general advice on finding roles when you're kind of a younger mother or have a family to look after. I think that flexibility would be a really good one to kind of not, sometimes we speak to people who come in and they say, oh, I have to pick up my children at this time, so I only want to work these hours. But then we're able to have a conversation with them and they may realize that it makes more sense to work on a Monday and Tuesday and use Beam support for childcare on those days, which means that they're not kind of having to run from doing a school pickup to work and then back again, and which can obviously be really stressful and really hard to manage. So kind of being open-minded to trying out different working patterns is always really helpful. Yeah, thank you.
What about for little one? Because mine are little ones. So if when they go to school, I think it might be much easier.
Yeah.
But when they are little, sometimes people recommend e-commerce, like online jobs, but which one do you recommend from those kind of jobs?
To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what the best roles to do from home would be, just because the majority that we help people with are kind of much more based in the office. I mean, if anyone else has any suggestions of good roles to apply for from home, please do feel free to interject.
Thank you.
I guess we're going to talk later.
Sorry,
But-
I was going to say it just depends on your skills and your experience and what jobs are on offer, I think. Yeah, but it'd probably be good to talk to an employment consultant and look at your skills and do an assessment, and then look at what jobs are available and suit you.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Joseph. I saw that you had a hand up there.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Chloe. I think for Rini, I think that at this point in time, because we're coming back to recovery period post COVID, even though we are still in COVID, I think what Chloe has suggested is that you probably identify 1 or 2 days or 3 days per week where you can give your time to working and take advantage of services that are available offering free childcare. Number 1 from Beam, and number 2 from Children's Services, because for 0 to 5 babies or toddlers or children, they are offering free childcare for them at the local children's center. So I would suggest that you contact Children's Services. If you are from Hammersmith and Fulham, there will be a few of those, and make inquiries as to how many hours of childcare can they provide for you while you're actively looking for or working.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Great. Well, I think that's probably it in terms of our introduction to Beam and listening to hear about Allah's story, unless anybody else has any final questions. Doesn't look like it. But thank you all so much for joining today and for listening. And Allah, do you have any final words?
I just want to say to every refugee that, like, just try to get the chances that like people are providing you, and like do not just sit home and like wait for opportunities that it might not come. Like just like try to search, try to work on yourself. Like we're here in a new country, and in the future it's gonna be our country. We're gonna be part of it, and like we're gonna be proud to be part of it. And like, yeah, so just try to work on yourself. Do not isolate yourself. Speak to people, learn the language. Yeah, that's everything that I would like someone to hear.
Amazing. Thank you so much to Chloe and to Allah. And yeah, particularly to Allah for sharing your experience with Beam, so inspiring. And thank you, Chloe, for all the information you've given about Beam and all the amazing work that Beam are doing. I know it's been really, really helpful. And I'm sure, yeah, people will get a lot of use out of that. We're moving on to our next presentation, which is being presented by Breaking Barriers. So I'm going to hand you over to Sham and to Emily, who are going to be talking about their work.
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, and thank you, Chloe and Allah, for the presentation. It was really interesting and inspiring. Yeah, we're going to have a little PowerPoint presentation, and me and Emily are going to double team it. So, yeah, you have the presentation up. Thank you, Sophie. We're just going to talk through some of these slides, but feel free to ask us at any point if you have any questions. Cool. So maybe, Emily, you can go ahead and start with the first few slides.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Sham, and thanks everyone for having us today. And thanks, Chloe, and thanks, Allah. It was really great to hear about everything that Beam are doing as well. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, so we're going to tell you a little bit of background to Breaking Barriers and the services that we provide, and particularly in Hammersmith and Fulham as well. So would we be able to have the next slide, please? Thank you, that's great. Yeah, so our vision, so we were founded in 2015, and our vision is that every refugee in London can fulfill their potential and integrate into their new home through employment that matches their skills, experience, and aspirations. So just to unpack that a little bit, we're very much about being led by the client and what it is that they want to do and what their background might be in. We'll support every individual from refugee background, and we have different programs that our clients can go into. So we have a program which is specifically for clients who are already employed, but are maybe who are looking to take their next step, or they feel they're underemployed based on what they've done previously and what they're qualified to do. And we also support clients who are unemployed, who are looking for their first job in the UK. So yeah, with a whole range of clients that we have supported and that we are supporting at the moment. Our mission is to help refugees in London acquire the knowledge, confidence, and experience to get stable and fulfilling employment. And I suppose something about us as well to note is that we give this central role to businesses, involving them directly in these employment solutions for the clients that we support, which I'll come to a bit more later in the presentation. But yeah, ever since we were founded, we've worked very closely with our corporate partners. We've got over 20 of them, and they provide skills workshops and also paid job placements for our clients. Thank you very much. Yeah, so some numbers. So on the sort of top of the grid, that's more sort of the external situation that we're facing, the refugee unemployment crisis. And I suppose the main thing to note is the one in green, which is that the pandemic really has disproportionately affected people from a refugee background. And we know this from our own research at Breaking Barriers. So 17% of the clients we were supporting who were in work prior to the pandemic have lost their jobs, which is a lot higher than just the general population, which was 5% who had lost their jobs by October 2020. And it's really, we know that obviously the pandemic's affected everybody, but it really has, we know from the clients that we've worked with, it really has had this disproportionate effect on them, which is continuing now. Like as Joseph said, we're sort of in this recovery, we're still in the pandemic, but we're very much still recovering. And unfortunately, the employment landscape is going to carry on being incredibly competitive and challenging. And it's just going to carry on being even harder for our clients than it was already, which we'll come to talk about the barriers that they face in a minute. And yeah, also our clients have said that in spite of everything, that there still is a real need for them for employment advice and guidance. It's continued to be cited by them as their most important need. So yeah, going to the bottom of the grid, we've supported over 1,200 people from refugee background since we were founded in 2015. In our last financial year, so the one that which ended in May 2020, 474 people accessed our services, and 40% of those achieved an outcome. So they entered employment, education, training, or volunteering. I think actually we've got I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are for our year, which has ended just at the end of May. I think we're just finishing reporting, but I know it's around this 470 mark again. So still, in spite of everything, in spite of the pandemic, we've still supported a number close to this amount as well. 95% of clients said that after being supported by Breaking Barriers, they were more motivated and confident to achieve their goals as a result of this support. And 97% of clients, this was in our last financial year, were satisfied or very satisfied with our support. And what exactly our support is, we are coming to, don't worry. Yeah, that's everything. Thank you. Yeah, so Sham, should we talk through these barriers together?
Yeah, and I also realized that we didn't introduce ourselves properly. So I'm a senior employment and integration advisor at Breaking Barriers. So I work with clients to provide support in terms of employment, education, And Emily, go ahead.
Yeah, that's very true. Thanks, Shah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, so my role is a philanthropy manager.
Great. So yeah, we wanted to talk about like the reason that Breaking Barriers was started was our founder and CEO, Matt, started in 2015 when he understood or recognized the need that integration for newcomers into a new society was best achieved through employment, which allows more independence as well. And the UK does not have a system like perhaps some Scandinavian countries do for setting up a program of integration and welcoming refugees. There's pros and cons. The UK at the same time is not as restrictive for newcomers. Newcomers can, once they've got their refugee status, can just go ahead and start working or studying, whereas it's not necessarily the case in other countries. So there's pros and cons to that. But to face or to help to support clients face these barriers, that's how Breaking Barriers was established. So these are some of the barriers that we find, and Ala mentioned earlier as well, and I'm sure that Beam also like support clients with it. Perhaps I would agree with what Ala said earlier, at least personally, and the most important piece of advice I give to people is not about the job or about the course they want to take, but it will really open a lot of doors if you can improve your communication and English. But that is a clear barrier for someone who's new to any country. In this case, it's English. Something else is perhaps also, as mentioned before, gaps on a CV, and the asylum process can be quite lengthy. We've got clients who waited 12 years to get like their, yeah, it's not just because they're our clients, but it can be quite long. So that's some of the other barriers. Yeah, Emily, you can go mention a few of those as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think actually as well, it's around half of our clients have waited over a year for their asylum status to be granted. So for the majority of our clients, that's still obviously, you can imagine, such a long time, where for most of our clients, that's then illegal for them to work while they're seeking asylum. And so while that's creating a gap on their CV, which then, as you can imagine, could lead some employers, not all obviously, but some, to sort of say, well, why is that gap there? I'm not interested, unfortunately, in employing this person. So that's a huge barrier right there. And lack of networks within the job market. Yeah, we all know that this can be important, even if it's just for knowing more jobs which are available. And having professional networks is obviously so important. Also for sort of learning more about workplace culture and things like that. It's amazing what the power of these professional networks can do. A lack of UK work experience in education, often it's that just that classic problem of getting that first step on the ladder. And we've had employers, we've had so many clients saying, you know, that they'll get to a certain stage in the job and then they'll say, well, do you have any UK work experience? But then then you're just stuck in this, you need that initial sort of foot on the ladder, and that's a big problem for lots of our clients. And yeah, education as well, even though so many of our clients have university degrees, it's getting that recognized in the UK, which can also be a long and difficult process for lots of people that we support. Sham, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties into the next point as well, but basically it becomes really hard if you, as someone who's new into this country, you're just trying to apply for a job. For some reason, having worked in the UK, almost in any job seems more important than actually having years and years of experience from your home country. And it's the same thing with education. We've got clients and people who are like super qualified
Mm.
into doing their profession and have done it for years. They've done multiple trainings and kept up to date with recent developments in their profession, but just are not qualified in the UK. And fair enough, like you need to have like a standards type of qualification, so that's make sure that you've got the same one, but translating into things that could be easily translated into what, just being able to work in the UK job market sometimes is a barrier as well. And alongside with that, like there's still unfortunately stigma, and just saying some people are from refugee background, and that ties in with perhaps like misunderstanding of what refugee means. Is just a status about needing a new safe home. That's all. It doesn't say anything about the person. Tied with that is racism and discrimination, which unfortunately is a reality. So yeah, these are like the barriers that we've identified. Some of them we can work on. Other things we can act as mentors and advisors into how to tackle them if they're encountered in life. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm an employment advisor at Breaking Barriers. I've been working there since the end of 2019. The employment program our aim is to help people get a meaningful job and that matches their experience and their aspirations as well. We offer one-to-one sessions, and we've also got workshops which we invite our clients to attend. These workshops are often provided by our corporate partners, which are different companies that help us do the work that we do. On the one-to-one sessions, someone like me would sit down with a client and go through their CVs if that's what's needed, cover letters, making job applications. We also spend at the beginning time trying to get to know what their goals are and really like tailoring the work and support that we provide towards those goals. At the moment, we've got the employment program divided in 3. So what we call first steps is just someone who's unemployed at the moment. It doesn't mean they were never employed, but at the moment they're not employed and they're looking for a job. And like I said, they can be, just getting into the job market, just coming off college, or they can be people who were experienced. They could even be someone. I've had recently a client who had been in the UK as a British citizen, had his business here and everything. Has just been impacted by COVID. And because he's from a refugee background, he contacted us and we started supporting him. The Aspire program is for people who are already employed, but you might come into this country and find a job because you need to find a job, but it's not what you wanted to get into. So that's for employed clients. And Futures is a little bit more tailored for our younger clients who might need mentoring or also support getting into university and have to think about different life plans basically at that stage in life. Right, so basically our support is currently online. We had 3 centers and we're working on a 4th one actually when COVID hit. So we had one in Hammersmith, which was where I worked, and we had one in Clapham and another one in Hoxton, and then clients could also come to our office, kind of like, so those, we had like specific days for having the appointments, but then if you could not make it or needed an evening appointment or something, then you could come to the office and we could continue supporting you there. Right now, everything is online via Zoom, or just, if someone does not have IT equipment, then it can be just over the phone and doing the best that we can. And the other part of programs that we've got is education. We're providing English classes, IT classes, and digital skills classes. So the most regular one is the English class, and we've got them from beginner level to advanced, like IELTS preparation for university. We've got them in different length, so they could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks, different, sometimes even one-to-one. We recently piloted a 12-week one-to-one with a few clients to see how that would work. We were trying to adapt with going online as well, which has been a shift clearly. We're probably going to come back to face-to-face at well, soon, but we don't really know exactly how that's going to work. So right now, unfortunately, like people who are a little bit limited with accessing online are missing out, which is a shame, but we're trying our best to tackle it by even supporting people with their digital skills over the phone and seeing what we can do. Which, by the way, I'm sure that as breaking barriers with some of my colleagues might have worked with Beam, I'm not sure, but this is the first time I'm hearing it. But I'm super happy to hear it because I'm really glad to hear that there might be support with getting equipment such as laptops, because that's been quite challenging for a lot of our clients. I'm seeing a message, though clients have to live in London. Currently our services are in London, but we are like planning the next few years very soon to expand regionally and then nationally. But that's kind of in the works. But it can be from any borough in London. So that's basically the type of support that we've got with education.
And I'll just talk about a little bit about the third sort of pillar of our support, which is the corporate partnerships. So yeah, as I've mentioned, we've got over 20 corporate partners across a variety of sectors as well. We're trying to get them to be across an even bigger variety of sectors, just so that we can best support the huge variety of clients that we do have. So the main things that our corporate partners do are paid placements and permanent jobs for our clients, and placements tend to be for 6 months, and they're paid at London living wage. And then also that's alongside employability workshops. So these are organised with our corporate partners, and they're on topics. You can see some down here as examples like networking, presentation skills, business communication skills, and volunteers who work for the corporate partners help to organise these. So it's a real benefit for them as well, because they get to understand and learn more about our clients, just as our clients report that they find workshops extremely helpful for learning more about, and they can also be sector specific. So we've had like our law partners like Mayor Brown organise workshops for us on getting into law, as well as placements for our clients like paralegal and things like that. And so yeah, our client, but on top of all the skills that our clients get from the workshops, it also goes back to that networking again, which they also get in terms of networking with other clients, but also networking with employees of our corporate partners. So some of our corporate partners, IKEA are a really big one. They've hired 29 of our clients now into employment. Mayor Brown, I've mentioned. Also Ipsos Mori, Grant Thornton, Big Yellow, yeah, huge variety. And actually today we just launched Fuse, which is our business network, which we've invited all of our corporate partners to join, and we hope that lots more businesses will join it as well. And the idea is to advocate to even more businesses to do more to support people from refugee backgrounds into employment. So yeah, we're really excited about that. Yeah, that's everything on that slide, I think. So this is Mahib, a client that we've supported who went on to work for Refugee, and just a quotation there, I'll read it out. What makes Breaking Barriers different is the way they link up refugees and jobless refugees with professionals within the sector. I was part of the Mayor Brown workshops, and the experience this gave me is credit to where I am today. It gave me an insight into how an organisation works, what they're looking for in applicants, and how to stand out. This experience really gave me confidence and was very unique. I haven't come across another organisation that offers this service to refugees. I think confidence is such a big one for all of our clients. So many volunteers report that clients often because of everything they've been through, so much of what they need is just the confidence to believe that because they have all the skills there on the table. It's just that confidence to unlock that. And yeah, that's something which so many of our clients report, actually.
Okay, I wanted to just quickly mention the clients that we support. Unfortunately, we cannot support everyone. So I'm just going to quickly read through these ones because it's important to know. So we support individuals with one of the following status from the UK or other EU countries. So it does not have to be in the UK. If you came to Europe as a refugee and now have moved to the UK, which however visa or leave you've got, people with refugee status, discretionary leave to remain, or humanitarian protection. If individuals that met the above criteria and are residents in the UK or another EU country, individuals who are in the UK on a family reunion visa or with a person who meets the above criteria. We do support asylum seekers, but they must have the right to work, and survivors of trafficking who've been granted the right to work as well. Unfortunately, that last note still is valid, but we'd like to expand beyond London. Currently, we're working towards that. It is quite broad still, but it just has some limitation. But it doesn't have to be. Thanks. Good luck to starting, Kat. It does not have to be someone who's got refugee status themselves. So we do help the families of someone who's come here as a refugee as well, with whatever right to work limitation the type of visa has, basically. So about making referrals, basically the easiest thing to do is to go to our website. We work with different charities and organizations who refer clients to us, and we refer clients to them for the type of support that we are not able to give. For example, we don't give advice on immigration or benefits, welfare benefits, or housing. So for those type of needs, we make referrals, and different organizations then refer to us. It can also be from the borough. So for example, the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham can refer clients to us, and we have worked with the council before, and it can be the same. Sometimes people who are on universal credit, their work coach can refer them. So there are different ways. There are different forms also on our website, but people can also refer themselves. So it's not limited to coming through an organization as well. We were going to have like a list of different links, but because it's a presentation, nobody can actually go and click on it. Please go to our website, breakingbarriers.co.uk, and you can find the referrals there. We'd love to take any questions that you have, and also, like, just make it a discussion among the people who are here. I'm really excited to have met Beam and Chloe and Ala, and yeah, I'm really excited about collaborating and working together as well.
Great, thank you so much, Sham and Emily, for telling us a bit more about breaking barriers and the amazing work that you do. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand or just shout them out, or put them in the chat if you'd prefer that.
It can be about anything as well, but we thought that this could be like a good time to have like a discussion about anything, like about the barriers that refugees might face, or the type of work that different charities are doing in collaboration with us, or anything. So Rebecca's asking, is there any voluntary work people can do whilst waiting to get their right to work? And yes, definitely. People do actually try to fill in the gaps with their CVs by doing some voluntary work. I'm surprised a lot of times by the resilience and persistence of refugees, and while they're still new and are asylum seekers. And I meet them for the first time and they say, oh, yes, I do have a CV, and here's my CV. And it's filled of like a year, 2 years or longer of volunteering for different organizations. If there's anything if there's a point in favor of the fact that, at least one of them, the fact that refugees contribute a lot to this country, is that even without the right to work, they volunteer a lot, help people who are residents of the UK with different needs. This can be volunteering to help company with the elderly, or working and just different gardening projects, which are meant to actually some volunteering also for helping with just support and yeah, just to tackle loneliness or anything like that, which I think would help them as well. So yeah, definitely volunteering is something that can help newcomers keep that gap from employment a bit shorter. It also, there are also opportunities to work with charities and work in reception or doing a bit of admin or things like that, which kind of introduces you to the way that an organization in the UK might work, which is a transferable skill to go into the private sector if that's what you want to do as well. Can you help people get voluntary work experience? Absolutely, yeah. Voluntary work is very much like just normal work. It just means that you're doing it out of your goodness of your heart and to gain some experience, depending on what stage of your career you are, or maybe because you don't have the right to work. So yeah, we go through, looking at your CV, giving you employment advice, and helping you contact organizations that might provide voluntary work. I have clients who want to get into the medical sector, and we've helped them into the education side of it, like getting into university, but they also want to get some work experience. Again, it kind of touches into that previous point where they probably already have some work experience back home, but to be able to say I've got work experience in the UK in this sector, and by the way, I'm already studying it, they just do some volunteering. Should I just keep going and reading the questions? So the next question was, question to all you today's speakers for both BEAM and Breaking Barriers. Are any of you aware of organizations that do similar work with refugees trying to access employment outside of London? Especially interested in Milton Keynes, but will be interested to know any organizations or programs working at a national level across the UK. So Refugee Council will be something like that. So there are organizations out there. I'll let the others speak as well. I feel like I spoke too much.
Refugee Council, I was going to say, and they also provide, as well as employment support, education courses as well. I don't know. Yeah,
so they're not as specialized for employment, and they're what we call a national charity. So they don't have like a specific place. I don't have much knowledge or experience about specific different places. But yeah, I'm happy for Sophie to give out my email, and anyone can contact me, and we can kind of like send a list if someone's interested in like a specific region.
Yeah, thank you, Cham. If you have such a list of contacts within different regions, that would be really helpful.
We don't have a specific list, but
Okay.
I don't think it will be too much to just go ahead and look it up, and because it might be something that would be of interest to actually work for us organizations that work in the UK. I just said that because I feel like at one point we were like kind of given a presentation or something, and we were looking at what do breaking barriers do compared to other, and we just said, okay, so some charities work nationwide, some charities work in London, but do generalist advice about like they can give immigration advice, which you need to be qualified, not anyone can do it. And then they might also give some employment advice. So I was just remembering that, but it won't be, I don't know how extensive the list will be, but I'll be happy to kind of look it up and get back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of, I just wondered if you had done some kind of mapping exercise of other organisations offering similar services across the UK. So yeah, if you or
yeah,
people
Emily,
at Beam might have anything like that, would be really helpful. I know about the Refugee Council and that they do provide some support in this area. I was just trying to see if there was any other organisations that do more similar targeted work to what you're doing and what Beam are doing outside of London in other parts of the UK.
Yeah, I don't know if Emily, your team has done anything like that, or other teams at Breaking Barriers. And yeah, Chloe.
I think we do have a list actually. Refugee is another one which comes to mind, working nationally. But yeah, we do have a list. So, and yeah, I'm more than happy for Sophie to share our email addresses. And we have a list because we try to provide this like wraparound support. We have lists of organisations providing similar services, but also other services as well, like housing support, mental health support, housing support. Financial support, yeah, as Sham said, like legal support. So would be happy to pick this up with you, definitely.
Thank you, Emily, that would be great.
I don't know if Chloe, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry. I did just put in the chat another one that isn't necessarily just work specific, but it's called Student Action for Refugees, and students all around the UK help people to practice their English, which kind of, as we mentioned before, can be a really key step before helping people into work. And I know that they're nationwide.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
I don't know if the other question was, will it affect their status? Is that for the volunteering, and if they can get help with travel and money?
Yeah, I think that was in relation to voluntary work, and whether Breaking Barriers offered any support for helping people to do voluntary work and get to their placements, etc.
So it will not affect someone's status to do volunteering work. We do not have help with travel money and expenses. We only had that for clients who were coming. We had a small contribution. We weren't able to like pay full expenses for coming to the centers when we were giving in-person assistance. But we are aware that this is something that is definitely in conversation as well. So we are aware that this is a need, and will make it much easier for people. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Do we have any final questions from anyone?
I actually have a question for Chloe and Beam. So basically, we at Breaking Barriers, we work one-to-one with clients to do funding applications as well for the things that they need. How does it work with like the different tools and things like that? Is it like fundraising through crowdfunding, or do you have like a pot for different needs
So it all comes from crowdfunding, and 100% of the money donated goes exactly towards the people that the donations are going towards, which is really reassuring for the people who are donating their money. But the way that we can kind of ensure everyone gets the money that they need is because many people will be kind of a regular monthly donor. So they'll say £20 a month towards whoever's campaign needs it. So it all comes, we don't do any other kind of funding applications. It all comes directly from the members of the public or the businesses who make the donations.
Cool. So if I have a client who might need a laptop to do English classes online and use this time, for example, when they're at home, how would I refer them to you? Because I feel like on some things like this, you might be like the perfect person to go to. Or
definitely. I think we should have a chat afterwards for sure, because I think it would just be really great to kind of connect more and use each other's resources better in general. So referrals can be done on the website. I can share a link with you afterwards, but they will need to have a local housing officer.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Great. If there are no further questions, feel free to shout them out. But if there are no further questions, then I think we will close the session. But I just wanted to say a big thank you again to Breaking Barriers and also to Beam. It's been a really, really interesting session and really informative. And yeah, we look forward to kind of working with you more in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.